Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Spinning Plates. First up today we have a Kitchen Confidential story. Is this normal in fine dining or was I being exploited? By OK Bodybuilder 5427. I'm looking for some outside opinions because I genuinely can't tell if I'm overreacting or if this really was as bad as it felt. About 6 months ago, I got my first job as a CDP in a fine dining restaurant. Before that, I'd only worked for 2 months as a commis. These last 6 months have easily been the most stressful of my life. I was regularly working 12-hour shifts and even coming in on my days off just to do mise en place, I think. I expected long hours. I know that's pretty common in the Michelin world, and I accepted that when I took the job. What I wasn't prepared for was the constant humiliation. Every day there were insults, people making fun of me. And on several occasions, the chef actually hit me. Yeah, that ain't normal. Asshole chefs? Yeah, that's sadly normal. Well, it's been normalized, rather, we should say. It shouldn't be acceptable, but it's become normal. I partly blame TV chefs for it, but they're not entirely to blame. But no, you should never be getting struck at work. He always played it off as a joke. Yeah, it's a joke when you're on the receiving end of it. But I don't find it funny when someone puts their hands on me. I never said anything because I knew that complaining would just make my life harder. On top of that, I spent almost 3 months working with eczema on both of my hands. I also have a chronic bowel disease, so some days are physically much harder than others. Even then, I still went to work sick because I didn't want to leave the team short. Fuck the team. The frustrating part is that I genuinely learned an incredible amount. Professionally, it was probably the biggest step forward I've ever taken. But looking back, I honestly don't know if it was worth it. My contract was for 28 hours a week, but I was actually working, here it comes, somewhere between 55 and 60 every week. Eventually, I reached my breaking point and I decided to quit. I told the chef that I didn't want to leave them in a difficult position, so they could replace me whenever they found someone instead of me giving a fixed notice date. They eventually hired someone and told me I'd finish at the end of the month. Everything seemed fine until my second to last week, when they told me they'd take me off my section during my final week to reduce my stress and stop my illness from getting worse. Sounds nice, right? Except they spent the whole week joking that I was going to be the kitchen's bitch and generally making me feel like crap. At that point, I asked the chef if I could have 1 day off because I had something personal I needed to deal with. He got annoyed and told me to just take my entire last week as vacation instead. I said fine, no problem. I told him I'd come back later to collect my things. At the end of the month, I asked about my share of the tips. They refused to pay me, saying I'd left them hanging. If you're owed tips legally, they can't withhold them. That's pay. That was the final straw. I mean, I'm saying that. I don't know what country you're working in, but usually that's considered pay. I've spent months working my ass off, doing double the hours I was contracted for. I mean, I'm guessing it's America, given the work culture you're describing here. It definitely sounds like a lot of kitchens in America I've heard about. While getting paid for barely half of them. And now they're withholding my tips as well. At this point, I'm seriously considering taking legal action over all the unpaid overtime. Yeah! I hope you've got documented proof of it. Make sure you do have that, and you should and must take legal action. So I'm curious what other chefs think. Is this actually considered normal in fine dining? Is this just the price you pay to learn, or was I genuinely being exploited? Yes, you were 100%. I'm not a chef, right? I've cooked. I'm going to make dinner after this, but I don't count as a chef. But in my opinion, my layman's opinion, you were 100% being exploited. And as somebody mentioned, that they think you already know the answer, and I feel you do. So if you just need people to confirm it, yeah, you were being exploited. If you have the means to take legal action against these people, you should do so because you're owed some money for all that work you did, and certainly recompense for all the hardship they put you through. Kitchens can be tough. Chefs can be jerks. It's sadly common. But the way you were treated in there is beyond the pale. It's not normal. And quite frankly, even at a lower level, some of the stuff I've heard people talk about, even that shouldn't be considered normal. But this is definitely not normal. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone that says it is. Story number 2. Got fired yesterday over a towel. By Big Mama. I, 33 female, have been working at this hole-in-the-wall breakfast joint for a few months now, and yesterday I was fired. To preface, this spot is very yummy, and I was a long time, not a regular, but once a month or so, customer before I was hired. Once hired, I got along with everyone really well. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 3 years previous to that, so it's really been a breath of fresh air. But soon I found the owner, 60-plus male, is a very sassy, self-righteous asshole who seemingly has a grudge specific to me. He works in the kitchen as head chef, asshole chefs, we were talking about those, which I really respected until I realized how miserable he is, which is crazy because when I first started I thought we were going to be besties. I loved him so much and respected the hell out of him and his vision for the company, but then he just randomly flipped one day, and it was never the same. More background. About a month into working there, I ran in a ticket that ended up being redundant. I rang in a breakfast sandwich on the handheld. One of the options it had in the handheld was egg style. Nom, 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 nom. So I asked the customer, and they said they wanted over hard. No problem. I ring in over hard, go back to the kitchen a while later doing something else, and he, in front of everyone, says, "How else is supposed to come?" I told him simply, "I don't know, it was an option and I clicked it." In his words, he took that as me talking back to him, and so he said, "Don't get an attitude with me, I write your paychecks." Oh, doesn't have a printer, eh? He didn't talk to me after that for 3 or so months. Everyone else got a hi, good morning, jokes, questions, conversation. I got silence. There's on average 5 servers, 1 other chef, 1 prep guy, and a dishwasher. So very small staff. He would even sometimes send a server to ask me something instead of waiting for me to be in front of him, but whatever. Kinda just rolled with it because, again, I get along with every other person there, including the co-owner and manager, who absolutely loves me and has expressed his appreciation for me many times. Anyways, today, as I was starting my shift, I grabbed a white kitchen rag, as I have for every shift before, and put it in my back pocket. I bartend for reference. He asked me what I use the rag for. I told him I use it to dry my hands when they get wet. He told me that was a health code violation, and I have to wash my hands at the sink every time instead of just wiping my hands. I feel like he's talking out his poopy hole. So I immediately took the rag out of my pocket and said, "Oh, okay," then told him that I wash my hands regularly too, and it's not for that. It's more for when I have water or something on my hands, and I'm trying to keep the glasses clean. Mind you, I'm very nonchalant, soft-spoken. He interrupted me and then went on to talk about how those specific towels leave fuzz on the glasses too, so they're specifically for kitchen, where they leave fuzz on the utensils and plates. I'll be honest, I think all this stemmed from another server using a kitchen rag to wipe down tables the other day. They're trying to save kitchen towels. I don't know how to wash them, because the vendor doubled the price, so they've been buying the towels outright. Anyways, I kinda gave him an "okay, I get it" half smile and handed him the towel back. He then immediately got defensive and said, "Hey, I want to work with you, but I can't with this attitude." Well then, sir, I suggest you correct your attitude. No one likes it. I was literally taken aback and said, "Wait, what? What attitude?" Then he very dramatically mimicked me and scoffed, saying, "Okay, that's what you did." Confused as hell, I said, "No, I didn't." He then started yelling and said, if I didn't want to have a good attitude or work here, "You just need to leave. Fucking leave." So I left. I'm not about to get spoken to like that and be expected to give good service to anybody. I was in tears before I walked out the door anyways. The co-owner is getting married today, and I was going to open and close because I'm the only bartender that's been trained that can cover. I texted him saying I don't know if I still have a job, but I'd still be willing to work even if it's just the one last day. I got one response from his wife saying she'd talk to everyone and figure out what's going on to make not only tomorrow but future days better for the staff. Which makes me think this isn't the first time he's done this, clearly. Nobody got back to me, and I saw I was taken off the schedule around midnight, but not before they threw out help wanted ads on every social. So love that. Also, the only other cook was taken off the schedule too, so I'm wondering what happened. The shittiest part, honestly, is I loved everyone else there so much, and the regulars I've made and the relationships with the other servers. I'm just so bummed. And I know most of you are going to say it's a good thing not to have to work for them anymore, and I totally agree. But every other person there was just the bee's knees, and it really breaks my heart. Oh, don't worry, they'll all leave too and get better jobs. Also, I'm not sure what the rules are where you work, but if you can sue for unfair dismissal, I'd do so, because that guy had an axe to grind and he buried it right in your back. Okay, story number 3. My 37 top didn't show tonight, but my 5 top made up for it. By King of Arms. I'm the head party server where I work. Usually people will rent a room and put a deposit down, and I am the first to be scheduled to party because I'm good at them. It's fine. Just follow the contract. Easy peasy. Sometimes it's just a big reservation, and out of the kindness of our hearts we'll reserve the room for them. Today was a 37 top, off regular menu, and I was scheduled to come in and take care of them. I came in, I set up my room. While I waited, I spent my time stocking things and helping out where needed. They were going to come in at 6:30. At 6:55, I pointed out to my manager they were 25 minutes late. At this point, the restaurant was kinda busy, so I was just helping out my friends where needed. I still had high hopes they'd show. 7:25 came around. All hope was lost. I told the hosts I'll take tables if needed. But if I'm not needed, I'll just go home. Not taking money away from the others. They got busy, but not to the point another server was needed. I was just running apps, taking out the trash, grabbing ice, traying up food, and bussing tables, seconds away from going to my manager and seeing if I could leave. I was outside bussing a table when a woman came up to me and told me they'd been sitting for 20 to 30 minutes and would like to order some drinks. I stopped what I was doing and told them that I'd figure it out for them, but I can get them started. They were ready to order everything. I was hesitant at first because I wasn't their server, but since they had been waiting, I asked how checks were split while taking their order, so I didn't mess it up for their server. When I got to the last guy, was a 5 top, by the way, he told me, don't listen to them, 1 check. Great, I put it all in. I talked to the hostess. We were rotating tonight and they didn't assign them a server. Figured out who was next in rotation, and asked if she could take them. I told her it would be easy. I got their whole order and it's in. 1 check, I'll get it transferred. She told me that I could have them, but I was kinda defeated at this point. I wanted to go, but she convinced me to. And fuck it, yeah, I took them. They were lovely and very pleased with me. After waiting as long as they did to be served, they at least had someone that had nothing going on. I did get a second table eventually when somebody didn't want another table, but aside from that, my night was about making sure this 5 top didn't get a negative experience. They finished their meals, I asked about dessert, they ordered dessert, and I found out there was a birthday at the table. Went to grab their desserts, and I put a candle in the birthday boy's dessert, after talking to my manager about how long they waited initially. She comped their dessert, and I was excited to deliver the news. While I was getting my dessert ready, the owner came back to grab a cheesecake, and she had a fancy firework candle they keep in the office. I wanted to ask for one too, but I just asked, "Ooh, who's that for?" She said, "Some guy," and ran out. Anyways, I brought my desserts out. They already had a dessert and the fancy candle. The owner didn't realize it was my table, and I joked when I got out there about my stupid little candle, and I let them know I talked to the other manager, and all desserts are on us today. When I cashed them out, they thanked me profusely. I'm usually not one to overshare with my tables, but I did tell them they made my night too. I mentioned that I was scheduled for a group that didn't show up, and when they got to me, I was just helping my friends out and then leaving. They waited a while, but luckily I was the one with nothing going on at that moment. Anyways, they tipped $45 on their $150 tab. My other table left $15, so my night wasn't pointless. I did side work until one of the servers told me to stop and that I've done enough, and I got to sit outside with some friends and watch the band finish up their set. I really like the band that played tonight. One guy whips out a kazoo, and it's so silly. We called my group that didn't show tonight, by the way. They didn't answer. We left a message. The owners sent them an email and mentioned how I came in specifically for them. Crazy thing about this is that it literally happened to me 2 weeks ago. From here on out, I think they're implementing a policy that any big reservation they're scheduling a server for needs to put down a deposit. That's a good idea. Anyways, cheers to that 5-top, and cheers to you if you listen to this. Story number 4. The Worst Shift, by CultureDew6588. I work at a chain restaurant. It's normally pretty chill. They tend to overschedule due to call-outs, so shifts are generally really slow, even on a Friday or Saturday because the sections are so small. On Mondays, I'm the only AM server, and we have a bartender. Mondays are usually so slow, but at 12 p.m. this past Monday, my manager had an emergency, so he had to leave. The bartender clocked in as manager, and then we got slammed. There's 9 booths in the bar area, then the bar has about 6 high tops. Every guest party that came in wanted a booth. All the customers came in at about 12 to 1 p.m. All the booths were full, and I think 2 of the high tops. I ended up with about 16 tables plus a party of 7. I think I'm a pretty good server, but I'm not a 16 tables at once server. We have a 3 for me on the menu, so you can order a drink, a starter, chips and salsa, a salad, or a soup. And your entree. Which is normally what our lunch crowd orders anyway. So that means I'm getting your drinks, then coming back and getting your starters when I drop the drinks that I have to make myself, then coming back and grabbing your entrees. So it's at least 3 kitchen checks, not counting your refills, right? That's per customer. Every single customer per table ordered the 3 for me. I had 2 to 6 customers per table other than my party of 7, all getting sat back to back to back. I would take a table's drinks and turn around and see I had 4 new tables sat, while needing to get the starters for the previous 3 I just took. It was a mess. The tables didn't get their starters or apps. My party never got their app either. There's no host or runner or QA either, mind you. On a Monday morning, the party ended up getting their entire check comped because they never got their entree. The bartender and manager was way too busy to deal with their complaints to just discount it, so he just removed the whole bill. Oh my. I think I managed to get all my starters and food out on time, but there were literally no refills given. Tables asked me, I said, sure, I'll be right back with that, and it just never happened. I know my service was horrible, and I still feel horrible for it because most of them still tipped me. I told the bartender to stop sitting me at about 10 tables, but even then I was already screwed. But she kept sitting me. One day you will have your vengeance, because the people coming in said they wanted booths and hers were full. Could I have done anything better? I know I messed up getting apps out before the entrees and legit no one got refills. Any advice on how to handle something like this randomly happening again, please? Poke the bartender with a cattle prod? Apart from that, I mean, just it's one of those things where you live and learn, you know? Yeah, I mean, 16 tables at once seems ridiculous. I mean, I have never been a server, but that sounds ridiculous to me. I mean, I think what it boils down to, you told the bartender you were at your limit, so really it's on them for not listening to you. You knew when you had 10, that was probably about good enough. The fact that you made it through the night and are still standing is, quite frankly, admirable. But no. I don't really see how you could have done any better with that many tables at once. Yeah, you say the bartender was signed in as manager, so that... forgive my language, but that shit show was on them. Alright, 5th and final story. I had a man scream at me and slam his hands on the table. By Top Concentrate 5157. Hey guys, so this story takes place this past weekend. It was actually a couple of weeks ago. It all happened really fast during dinner rush, so it's paraphrased to hell and back. I work fine dining. I absolutely love it. Most of the people who come in are amazing, and I genuinely enjoy my job. I love people, despite not having the best social skills, but I tried really hard, and most people seem to enjoy my company. And I have experience in the industry. This is also a very new place. This is our 4th week open, so our entire staff is still getting in the groove of everything. On Saturday night, I got fairly busy. I had a couple come in, and I saw the anniversary card on their table, so I did my best to make myself a little more scarce than usual, so they could enjoy each other's company and have a romantic evening while still giving them good service. The man seemed a little gruff too, so I didn't want to bother him. They both ordered our prime steaks, a 16-ounce behemoth of a cut. It costs over $60. The steaks come out, and as per usual, I ask them to cut into their steak so we can ensure everything is correct before I leave the table. The man ordered a medium. He got like a rare plus. I apologized profusely, and I offered to have it remade. It goes as follows. I am more than happy to remake your meal for you, sir. This is a very special occasion, and a special steak. You deserve to have it exactly as you'd like it.
No, it's fine.
If it's not fine, I promise it's no imposition on us, and we will have it back out quickly. If you're okay, then I'll leave you be, but this is the best time to correct the mistake.
No.
His wife, cutting him off, says, "Yes, please," picks up his plate and hands it to me. I will remove the baked potato from your plate so you have something to eat in the meantime.
Will you two make up your minds? I said it was fine.
He smashes his hands on the table, so hard the salt and pepper falls over. I was too stunned to speak. I put the plate back down. He gets up and stands over me for a second. He is much bigger than me. I wonder if he's going to hit me, and has an actual flashback to something really violent that happened to me in the past. It was very disorienting. I then walk away really quickly. Dude sits back down. At that point, he should be leaving. In pieces, yells at his wife some more, and then storms out of the restaurant. I'm holding back tears, notifying my manager. She tells me to go take as long as I need, and she'll take care of my section. I'm hoping she goes armed. And I have a breakdown in the employee bathroom. This is all very much paraphrased, and the wife was also talking during this, so I didn't know if I should walk away or not, because they were saying opposite things. I wasn't trying to pester him, but he seemed upset, and I thought it was because of the steak being too rare. I felt so dumb for being so shaken by this. I've been really struggling mentally for a while now, and this just made me feel so small. The fact of the matter is, you're not the one that did anything wrong here. He did. Couldn't control his big fifis in public. I know he wasn't going to do anything violent. That would be absurd, but it triggered me very badly. I feel so dumb for crying at work because someone yelled at me. You shouldn't be getting yelled at work. It's quite all right. I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. Luckily, I have a great team and I got support, which is nice. But it's so embarrassing to cry in the workplace. The wife was extremely apologetic, and her apologizing to me made me cry a little again. She tipped really well, and my manager brought dessert for her. According to the wife, they were already having a bad time. I guess I did not vibe that situation correctly. Well, then they shouldn't be going out to a restaurant. Marriage counseling would be good for them, I think. Looking back at my actions, I definitely should have just left him alone, despite what his wife was saying. But it's really hard to tell sometimes if someone means it when they say their food is fine. The few times I've been like, okay, well then, if you're okay, then I'll let you dine, but please let me know if I can do anything for you. And they get really mad if I didn't insist or get a manager or comp their meal or whatever else. Most of the time, people who say it's fine absolutely do not mean it, and just don't want to be the person that insists on having their meal remade. I don't know, man. I got into serving back in the day because my social skills aren't good and I wanted to improve them. I guess I've been doing this wrong? I don't know, nobody's perfect, but I guess I learned something. I think you handled that quite well, actually. You were quite responsible. And you're not responsible for a big old baby losing his temper in public. Bloody fartheads. Alright, that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support the channel, you can sign up for my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. $1 or more gets you early access to all the videos at once on Monday. We do a pay what you feel kind of thing around here. There's also a link to my merchandise store over on Teespring, as well as my Discord server, my Threads account, and my email is kingofthecities@gmail.com if you need to contact me for any reason. That's everything for now, so until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye bye.